message didn't arrive with fireworks or warnings, no signature, no explanation, just a few words that landed like a knife at 3 in the morning inside a lawyer's office in downtown Toronto. The vault is opening, I'm done protecting you. Somewhere in Montecito, a woman who built her entire life on control reportedly broke down because for 4 long years, one name had stayed buried. One woman had stayed silent. One witness had stayed loyal even after being erased. Jessica Mulroney wasn't just a friend, she wasn't just a stylist, she was the ghost inside the machine. The woman who knew every password, every rehearsal, every lie that was ever told behind closed doors. She helped build the image, she helped guard the secrets, and when she became inconvenient, she was burned to the ground and left without a single word of defense. The world was told it was a social media scandal, a messy moment, a cancellation. But insiders now whisper something far darker. They say it was a controlled demolition, a deliberate cut off of a woman who knew too much. Megan didn't just drop Jessica, she erased her. And Jessica waited. She didn't scream, she didn't leak, she didn't fight back publicly, she documented, she organized, she prepared. And now, according to people close to her, she has sat for sealed legal depositions that don't talk about dresses or flower girl fittings, but about something that shakes the very foundation of the so-called love story. Because Jessica says she was inside the Toronto Triangle. Megan, Markus, Jessica, she saw it up close, and what she describes has allegedly left Megan in tears and Harry physically sick. I walked in on them, Jessica claims I saw what they were doing when Harry wasn't looking. She insists it wasn't a physical affair, it was worse. It was an affair of the mind, and it disgusted her. According to the testimony, what the public thought was a fairy tale romance beginning in 2016 was behind the scenes something cold and calculated. Jessica paints a picture not of love, but of strategy meetings, whiteboards, flowcharts, psychological profiles of the royal family laid out like a battlefield map. They weren't talking about feelings, they were talking about leverage. Markus would allegedly say things like, he needs to feel like he's saving you. And Megan would practice crying. They rehearsed vulnerability. They rehearsed trauma triggers. They laughed about how easy it was to activate Harry's deepest wounds. Jessica says it felt clinical, like watching someone dissect a human being for sport. But the moment that still turns her stomach, she says, came just weeks before the engagement announcement. A private dinner at Soho House, Toronto. Harry stepped away. When Jessica returned to the table, she claims she saw Megan and Markus leaning toward each other, sharing a look of triumph so predatory it made her feel sick. They were mocking the engagement ring, mocking the diamonds taken from Diana's collection. Jessica alleges Megan looked at Markus and said, once I have the ring, the ghost is on my finger. He can't leave me then, and they laughed. Not nervously, not awkwardly. They laughed like two people who believed they had won the score of the century. Jessica says that was the moment she realized this wasn't friendship. It was a con. And the third person in the marriage wasn't another woman or another royal, it was Markus. For years, Jessica stayed quiet because she thought she was part of it. She liked the access, the proximity to power, the illusion that she was in on the joke, but then the machine crushed her too. And when it did, she finally understood she was never special. She was disposable. Now she's releasing timelines, messages, strategy documents, proof that Megan didn't stumble into the royal family, she broke in with a blueprint. And Harry, she claims, may forgive mistakes, but he would never forgive mockery of his mother. Which brings us to the moment Jessica calls the most disturbing of all. She alleges she once walked into a room in Toronto and found Megan watching Diana's most famous interview. Not casually, not emotionally. Studying it, pausing the footage, standing in front of a mirror, practicing the chin tilt, the upward gaze, the soft, wounded voice. Markus sat nearby, correcting her performance. More sadness, he allegedly said. He needs to feel like he has to save you. Jessica says she froze. Because this wasn't admiration. This wasn't grief. It was rehearsal. Diana's trauma wasn't being respected, it was being broken down into bullet points. A script, a checklist. And later that same evening when Harry called on FaceTime, Jessica claims Megan slipped seamlessly into the role she had just practiced. Same voice, same expressions, same lines. Harry looked devastated, protective, narrative. Hooked. Jessica says she felt physically ill. If true, it means Harry didn't fall in love with a woman, he fell in love with a ghost that was deliberately summoned for him. And that pattern didn't stop there. Before Harry, there was Corey, the chef, the man who loved her. Jessica and her husband were close to them. And yet, the moment Markus identified Harry as a viable target, Corey didn't just get dumped. He got erased. Jessica claims she watched Meghan pack her bags while Corey was at work, Markus directing movers, instructing her to leave no trace, no photos, no notes. Like the relationship never existed. When Jessica questioned it, Meghan allegedly replied calmly, "Corey was the appetizer. Markus just brought me the main course." That's when Jessica realized she wasn't watching romance. She was watching Extraction, and she had been holding the flashlight the entire time. By the time the wedding arrived, Jessica says the planning phase was over. What the world watched was not a fairy tale, it was the execution. Inside the palace walls, according to her account, there was no wide-eyed newcomer learning tradition. There was an appraisal, a cold, fast-moving assessment of assets, gifts, influence. Markus wasn't hovering in the background, he was auditing the operation. Jessica describes walking into Nottingham Cottage and seeing wedding gifts stacked like inventory. Crystal, silver, designer linens. Instead of thank you cards, she claims there were spreadsheets. Markus Googling resale values. Meghan sorting piles. One comment allegedly froze her blood. "We need to ship the good stuff to Toronto. If this goes south, we don't leave empty-handed." That's when she understood. This wasn't marriage. This was risk management. And then came the tiara incident, the moment the public remembers as Harry's rage. What Meghan wants, Meghan gets. Jessica claims that line didn't come from Harry's heart, it came from Marcus's script. She says she witnessed Markus coaching Meghan before meeting the Queen's dresser. Accepting anything less than the emerald tiara he allegedly warned would signal weakness. And if they said no, Meghan was told to trigger Harry. Make him feel like he's failing you. If he doesn't fight now, he won't fight later. Jessica claims she watched Meghan flip the switch the moment Harry entered the room, tears on command, voice cracking, playing wounded until Harry stormed out to confront staff. Harry thought he was protecting his bride. Jessica says he was running a program. But the moment that still haunts her involves a child. The flower girl fitting. Princess Charlotte. Jessica was there. She says the rumors were real, but the reason was darker. It wasn't stress. It wasn't pressure, it was dominance. She alleges Meghan snapped at the 3-year-old, correcting posture, criticizing movement, rolling her eyes when Kate became upset. And Markus, according to her testimony, was on speakerphone, mocking tradition, mocking hierarchy, treating it like sport. It wasn't about a dress, it was about control. When Kate cried, Jessica says Meghan didn't comfort her, she looked away, as if emotion was weakness. Standing in the chapel on the wedding day, Jessica claims she looked at Markus instead of Meghan. He wasn't emotional, he wasn't overwhelmed, he checked his watch, the takeover was complete. Then came New York, the baby shower the world saw as celebration. Jessica says it was branding. Every guest chosen not for love, but for value. Every detail approved not by the mother-to-be, but by Markus. He controlled access, he controlled leaks, he controlled optics, and then came the conversation that made Jessica feel physically sick. She alleges she overheard Meghan and Markus discussing the unborn child not as a baby, but as an asset. Trademarks, marketability, global leverage. "This is our insurance policy," Meghan allegedly said while looking at her reflection. "They can't evict us now. A baby has a clause in a contract." Jessica says that was the moment she knew there was no bottom. The paparazzi walk, she claims it was staged, timed, called in. Markus ringing the bell while Harry sat in London, panicking for her safety, believing the world was attacking his wife. The shower wasn't joy, it was proof of concept. And then, when the machine no longer needed Jessica, she became the liability. The scandal hit, the world turned. Jessica reached out not as a public figure, but as a friend. No answer, silence. Then a text arrived, not from Meghan, from Markus. "You have become a liability. Do not contact her again." Jessica says it felt like being fired from a friendship by HR. What hurt more wasn't the silence, it was the hypocrisy. She claims she holds private messages that shatter the public image. Jokes, mockery, performative beliefs. She says she was used when Meghan needed relatability and sacrificed when Meghan needed virtue. The press narrative flipped overnight. 10 years of loyalty erased. She became the villain. Meghan became became the survivor. Jessica realized then why it had to be her. She knew too much. So they discredited her before she could speak. But now she is speaking. And the most disturbing allegation of all comes from what she calls the Diana method. She says she watched Meghan rehearse Diana's trauma like a role, practicing expressions, studying vulnerability, Markus directing every beat. If you hit these notes, he'll never leave. Harry didn't fall in love with coincidence, Jessica claims. He fell in love with design. And finally, the letter to Thomas Markle. Jessica alleges it was never meant to heal. It was written to provoke, edited to leak, crafted to explode. When the letter was published, Jessica says Meghan didn't cry. She smiled, got him. The lawsuit wasn't reaction, it was the plan. And now, Jessica's final warning isn't about revenge. It's about pattern. She says she's watched this cycle before. Love bombing, isolation, extraction, discard. Harry believes he's free. Jessica believes he's last on the list. And when his usefulness runs out, she claims Markus will send him the same text. The best friend is gone. The witness has arrived. And the receipts are no longer buried.